We're here. Nice. Well, we're next to the river. Hi, I'm Tim Rajeff. I'm the owner of Echo Fly Rod and Reel Company. And if you're looking at this video, that means you probably already own one of our Echo beginner kits. This is the Echo Solo trout-sized rod. And I decided to invite you to a river near my home. This is the Lewis River, and I live in Vancouver, Washington. So today what I wanted to do is give you an idea on how these rods can be set up. So kind of the ABCs of putting the rod together and getting it all rigged. And then we'll head on down to the river. We'll take you through some of the casting, a little bit of fishing stuff. So hopefully this will get you started on your newfound career of fly fishing. It's not that complicated. You don't need fancy waders and all that stuff. You can just get your rod and reel and a couple other things and then hit the river. So, what's inside your new kit? Well, when you open it up, we've made it really easy for you. All of these Echo rods are 4-piece, which means they make great travel rods. So I'll pull all 4 sections of the rod out. And the reason this is shaped like this is so you can keep the fly reel on the rod. It makes it easy to hit the river in a hurry. And then all your stuff, your rod and reel and everything is all included in one case. And what we did at Echo, at Rajeff Sports, is there's these little dots that show you that everything is lined up. So what you do is you start with the rod a little bit crooked, and then we twist and pull the rod together and get the dots lined up. So when you get the kit, the reel is already attached to the rod. It's a real simple system to put a fly reel onto the rod. You simply find the spot underneath by the cork that the front of the reel fits in. And then on the bottom, there's another ring that fits on the other side of the reel, and then a simple screw like a nut. So you get that down and cinch it down hand tight, wiggle the reel to make sure it's firm, and now you're good to go. Other than a fly rod, there's going to be a couple things you need to go fishing. And the first one is protection. You need sunglasses. A, protects your eyes from this hook going back and forth, and B, polarized sunglasses allow you to see down in the water. The second thing you're going to need is some sort of like hemostats. The next thing you're going to need is some sort of fishing line, like 2-pound or 4-pound or 6-pound test. We call this tippet. Next thing, of course, is a box of flies. And lastly, at the end of our fly line, there's something called the leader. And if you totally screw it up and roach it and get it tangled into trees, or you step on it and it totally messes up, you ought to have maybe one spare leader. Okay, so let's hit the river. Grab your sunglasses, throw all your stuff in your little pack here. And I'm really looking forward to kind of working with you guys and getting you started in this wonderful sport. Oh, cool. Here we are on the river. So we went over how to put the rod together and everything, and the reel's on your rod, and now you're ready to hit the water. First thing we're going to do is string the rod up. And instead of a fly, today I just put a piece of yarn on there. You should probably do that. And what I do is I come near the end of the line, maybe a foot or two back, and I fold it over. And that's what I'm going to use to run through the guides. So I'll get this line started through the guides here, and I'll put the reel down here gently on the rocks. If you're in the sand, you might want to put your hat down there. But the idea is that if I use the fly line to string it up, it helps me. It's big enough for me to see. But if it slips out of my hand, you can see the fly line isn't shooting down the rod. And voila, your rod is all strung up, and now you're ready to go. So you wait here. I'm going to put on my glasses and sneak around because there's some beautiful water just on the other side of the river here. And we're going to go through some of the basic casts and how to hold the fly rod and some of the mechanics of good fly casting and fly fishing. So let's talk about line management. So let's say you got your thumb on top and you've got your line hooked under your finger. There's times when you're fishing where you're going to need to pull the line in. Don't reach in front of your hand and try and grab it. Always keep the line under your finger and strip line from behind your hand. This way, if you have a fish grab your fly, you're ready to go. When you're ready to cast for distance, let go of it here. Go 1, 2, 3. Let it slide. So keep the line under your finger at all times. At the end of the day, or when you're winding in a fish, you got to kind of keep that line controlled on the reel. So wind in, and while I'm doing this, I'm kind of zigzagging the fly line so it doesn't build up on one side, and then it'll kind of jam in there. So zigzag it nicely, and when you're done, grab your fly. On the bottom, just above the handle, is this little hook keeper. That's not for your fly line, it's just your fly. That's your hook keeper. Now I'm all set for the next spot. To get started, to get line off the reel, all you do is you let your line down in the water, let go of it in your hand, on your right hand, strip the line off, and now point your rod down and shake it side to side. See how that worked? The line goes right out the rod. There's two fundamentals in casting that I'm going to teach you with the help of a paintbrush. They're the two most important things in fly casting. How far back to go with the rod and how to put the snap in it. And if you think about a paintbrush, if I dip this in here and I flick water off that paintbrush, if I can get all the water moving forward, that's the exact feeling a good fly cast is. So on a short cast, I'll make a short little flicking motion, and on a long cast, my hand moves all the way out and I flick it at the end. The first cast I want to teach you is the roll cast. A roll cast is used when I have obstructions behind me and I can't make a normal back cast. That line would go into the trees behind me. The other thing a roll cast is used for is when you have a sinking fly and the fly's underwater, you can roll cast it to the surface prior to making a normal overhead cast. So you start a roll cast by having the rod tip low to the water, slowly bring your rod up just past 12 o'clock, and now I come forward and snap water off a paintbrush. That's it. I'm fly fishing right now. That would catch a fish. So now I'm going to teach you an aerial cast, a line that actually shoots behind me. It's called the pick up and lay down cast. Some people call it the water cast. Prior to making a water cast, I need to have the line sort of straight in front of me. And if your line's all screwed up and lumped out in front of you, you always start with a roll cast to get your line straight. Now I can do the pick up and lay down cast. It's done with that same hello, it's for you, but now we need to wait for that line to straighten out and roll through the air behind me, roll through the air in front of me, and then I settle down. Stop, stop, down. So now you're rocking the pick up and lay down cast. And now I'm going to take you to kind of the most beautiful cast. It's the one you see on television in movies. It's called the false cast. Looks like this. I do a pick up and lay down cast, but instead of the line hitting the water in the front, I keep it going. So now we have timing issues and all this other stuff. It gets kind of complicated. But literally it's the same motion as the pick up and lay down cast. I lift, stop, stop, and before it hits the water, I keep going. So back and forth, stop, 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 stop the rod, and then follow her through on the last cast. That's the false cast. I use the false cast when my fly gets too wet and it won't float anymore. I use the false cast to dry the fly off. I also use the false cast to change direction. So you guys are downstream from me, and if I needed to change direction here, I would use the false cast, changing the angle a little bit, and now I'm able to cast back upstream again. So the false cast is used for changing angles, getting a dry your fly out, changing distance. So it's the hero cast. It's the one you're going to want to do the most of. So now you know something about fly casting. Let me show you a few knots you're going to need when you hit the river and do some fishing. So the most popular knot used to tie your fly on is called the improved clinch knot. You ready? Here's what it looks like. Let's say this pair of scissors in my hand represents the fly. You take the end of your line, we call that the tippet. In this case, I used a piece of bright fly line so you can see what's going on. You go through the eye of the hook, and then you wrap it around the main line 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you take the end of that and you go back through that little hole that you formed at the beginning of your line by the fly. So now you have this coiled circle. You see that? Then you reach and you pull the tag end back through. That's called improving it. When you're done, you're going to end up with some squiggles. Wet the line with saliva and cinch it up tight. When you're done, you're going to end up with a beautiful tapered knot and the knot end sticking off to the side. At that point, you can trim it nice and short. There you go. You're good to go. So when you want to add extra line back onto the end of your leader, you can use the most popular knot. It's super easy. It's called the double surgeon's knot. Let's take a look at that. So imagine this bright piece of line represents the thin piece, short piece that you're going to add on the end. And let's say this blue color is the main line leader headed back to your fly line. All you need to do is you take your short piece and your long piece and you overlap them by, I don't know, 6 to 12 inches. You make a loop in them together, and then you reach through and you make one simple overhand knot. Then you reach through and you pull it through a second time. Now you grab all 4 ends, wet it with saliva, and pull it tight. That's the double surgeon's knot. That's how you add extra line to the end of your leader. You simply then cut the end short, and you're in business. So I hope you had fun learning about fly fishing. I know every time I hit the water I enjoy myself, and I hope this becomes a passion of your life. When you're ready to get more information about fly fishing, go to the rajeffsports.com website. And I want you to support your local fly shop. Those are the people, the men and women out there that know where to fish, what to use. Really support your shop. They're going to be your main source for good fly fishing information. So thanks again for supporting us, and get out there and have a little fun with your new Echo fly rod.